In order for us to live sustainably, the structures that meet our basic needs must work towards regeneration rather than consumption and depletion. We wanted to find what alternatives exist to buying food at the supermarket, which in their current form encourage destructive farming practices.
I've been studying sustainable farming systems for over 25 years. There are no real issues. We can solve all of them. There are really easy answers to grow food quality and with good environmental care.
The Omnivore's Dilemma in the introduction, Our Natural Eating Disorder, asks the simple question, what should we have for dinner? It also tries to figure out how such a simple question could ever have gotten so complicated. As a culture, we seem to have arrived at a place where whatever native wisdom we may once have possessed about eating has been replaced by confusion and anxiety. A country with a stable culture of food would not shell out millions for the quackery of a new diet book every January. It would not be apt to confuse protein bars and food supplements with meals or breakfast cereals with medicines. When you can eat just about anything nature has to offer, deciding what you should eat will inevitably stir anxiety, especially when some of the potential foods on offer are liable to sicken or kill you. For instance, the koala doesn't have to worry about what to eat. If it looks and smells and tastes like a eucalyptus leaf, it must be dinner. The koala's culinary preferences are hardwired in its genes. But for omnivores like us, a vast amount of brain space and time must be devoted to figuring out which of all the many potential dishes nature lays are safe to eat. A sustainable food system is a way of eating what is around you, providing food security and nutrition. Sustainable agriculture enables us to produce healthful food without compromising future generations' ability to do the same. It's about choosing foods that are healthy to our environment and our bodies. Industrial agriculture has caused obesity for the wealthy and hunger for the less fortunate. 35% of Americans are overweight, while 29% are malnourished. 30% of food is lost or wasted. A third of the food system's environmental impact happens without feeding anyone. By 2050, in order to meet food demand, agriculture will need to be increased by 60% at the rate we are going. Something Americans struggle with daily is eating substantially, as most of everything you eat is shipped in. This has profusely impacted our environment, economic, and social systems surrounding food, and in general, humanity. Out of the entire world, the United States is ranked 26 for sustainable eating. The first step of sustainable food is that it is created and developed by sustainable agriculture. This creates a food distribution throughout the world that has so many beneficial aspects, one being the most major of them all, helping climate change. Organic farming and sustainable agriculture works towards a localized production of food, use of domestic gardens and urban wastelands, and slow and local food. Humans need nutrition in order to survive. Therefore, filling up on fast food is not only killing you, but killing the environment. Individuals need to think about the proper proportions of animal and plant foods and the methodology behind production. Food systems are essential and should provide humanity with a sufficient amount of nutrition instead of poison. In a world where populations are increasing daily and fast food is on every block, the climate is taking a harsh toll due to our actions, and with sustainable eating, we can all make a change. A sustainable diet will result in less carbon emission, gas, and anything to do with the mass transportation of food. Leah Penniman, author of Farming While Black, depicts a practical guide to liberation on the land, fighting towards a sustainable food system, along with tying in the history of her resilient ancestors. Penniman's story exemplifies a time where her ancestors in West Africa had an uncertain future. They had to make a change in order not to give up on the future of their blood. Penniman states, "This book is dedicated to our ancestral grandmothers who braided seeds in their hair before being forced to board transatlantic slave ships, believing against the odds in a future of sovereignty on land." Penniman struggled in finding healthy food herself, and she realized she could make a change.
We had a lot of trouble feeding our own children healthy food. Despite our college degrees, despite our knowledge of farming, we had to walk over 2 miles to the nearest place to get fresh food. And our neighbors, when they found out we knew how to farm, there was a clamor. You need to start a farm for the people. I'll join, I'll be a customer, I want to visit. And so this vision was really a community vision. We always had a long view that we'd get land, but it was accelerated by this encouragement. And having very little savings and wanting to be close to Albany, we essentially purchased a piece of a mountainside that was completely eroded. The neighbors around us shook their heads like, you cannot grow vegetables on this land. But we'd come from urban farming where you have to build up because there's lead in the soil. And we use a lot of those same techniques, which I later learned are African heritage techniques, to replenish the topsoil, to call the pollinators back in, to call the organic matter back in. And after about 4 years of building soil, we were able to open our farm and have incredible produce. We feed over 300 individuals every week with a doorstep delivery program.
Penniman then goes on to explain that the distance from land and healthy food is pandemic across the United States. 95% of the land is owned by white people, and if you are white, you are 4 times more likely to have a supermarket in your neighborhood and less likely to have diabetes or heart disease. If you are a farm worker, you are not protected under the same laws as other workers in America. We have institutionalized racism baked into the system. At Soulfire, our part is to steward the land the way our ancestors did and feed the people, and to change the way resources are distributed.
We should eat what the farmers who live in our part of the world, in our region, should produce using sustainable production methods. We need to throw less food away, be more frugal like we used to be during the Second World War. And in developing countries such as Africa, we need to help the farmers store their crops better.